Our next reader is Salem Burdette. He's a current junior here at Agnes Scott. Salem, are you there? Yes, you're there, sorry. He's a current junior here at Agnes Scott College. They are deeply passionate about their studies in creative writing, film, and women's gender and sexuality studies, their love for intersectional studies, particularly focusing on the southern regions as a driving force in their academic journey. A lover of literature, Salem's favorite poets are Pablo Neruda and Sappho. Salem, please.
Hello, my name is Salem, and the poem I'm going to be reading today is A Mouse's Petition by Anna Latish Farpold. This was a poem I found actually in Professor Quadra's class, and I just really loved the meaning. Oh, hear a pensive captive's prayer for liberty that sighs, and never let thine heart be shut against the prisoner's cries. For here forlorn and sad I sit within the weary grate, and tremble at the approaching morn which brings impending fate. If ire thy breast with freedom glowed and spurned a tyrant's chain, let not thy strong oppressive force a free-born mouse detain. Oh, do not stain with guiltless blood the hospitable hearth, nor triumph that thy wiles betrayed, a prize so little worth. The scattered gleanings of a feast my scanty meals supply, but if thine unrelenting heart thy slender boon deny, the cheerful light, the vital air, are blessings widely given. Let nature's commoners enjoy the common gifts of heaven. The well-taught philosophic mind to all compassion gives, cast round the world an equal eye, and feels for all that lives. If mind, as ancient sages taught, a never-dying flame, still shifts through matter's varying forms, and every form the same. Beware lest in the worm you crush a brother soul you find, and tremble lest thy luckless hand dislodge a kindred mind. Or if this transient gleam of day be all of life we share, let pity plead within thy breast that little all to spare. So may thy hospitable board with health and peace be crowned, and every charm of heartfelt ease beneath thy roof be found. So when unseen destruction lurks, with which mice like men may share, may some kind angel clear thy path and break the hidden snare. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Caleb. Again, great selection to share with us all here today, and so pertinent to our themes as well. Our next reader, before I call out the next reader, I'm just wondering, I'm trying to see if Opal Moore might have come. No, she hasn't. I'm just visualizing that perhaps she will emerge out of nowhere and present her poems. Really wanted her to come and share her poems. But the next poet also is very welcome. And this poet is E. Hughes. They are the author of the poetry collection Ankle Deep in Pacific Water, Haymarket Books 2024. They received their MFA in poetry and MA in English literature from the Litowitz Creative Writing Program at Northwestern University. Their poems have been published or are forthcoming in Guernica Magazine, Indiana Review, Gulf Coast Magazine, Colorado Review, and the Rumpus, among others. They are a Cave Canem Fellow and were a semi-finalist in the 2022 and 2023 Discovery Contest and longlisted for the 2021 Granum Fellowship Prize. Currently, E. Hughes is a PhD student in philosophy at Emory University. E. Hughes, please.
Good afternoon. Can you guys hear me all right? Okay. Yeah, I tend to speak very low. But I'm going to read from the center of my book. It comes out October 15th, Ankle Deep in Pacific Water. I'm bad at this, so first time with the book. But the middle section of my book is a long personal poem written from the perspective of Mary Ellen Pleasant. If you don't know her, she was a former slave. She was actually enslaved in Georgia. She gets freed very sporadically, just very randomly one day, gets sent to Nantucket, amasses wealth from her husband's estate in Cuba, moves to San Francisco and becomes an abolitionist. And if you don't know much about the West Coast, I'm assuming people don't. That's where I'm really originally from. People would bring their slaves to work in the mines in California during the gold rush. And she was a abolitionist ushering people to Canada from California. And she supposedly, there's some conflicting history about this, supposedly gave John Brown $30,000 to start his raid on Harper's Ferry. So this is written, it's a long poem, but I'm just gonna read 3 sections from it. 4, on a voyage to literacy. In Nantucket, the white folks were the same as they were in Georgia. They just had a new language for drudgery, yet were unencumbered by the fear of a Negro learning to read. My mistress was ambivalent toward my learning, as long as I kept up with the laundry, though my feet and hands soured in the soap and starch, cooked the fish and beans they loved to eat, and moved invisibly about the house. I missed my mother most in winter, held the memory of her face, my own reflection, tenderly in my hands in the warmth of water when I washed. As I began to learn the alphabet, mistress whipped me each time I sounded out April instead of apple, or wrote weather when I meant weather. The snow is falling outside our window. She called me invalid and unable to apprehend language or original thought. I thought and thought of those moments when my mother rubbed pig fat in my hair during leisure to keep the ticks away so the edges wouldn't break. As she recounted the rules of root work, sorghum is good for when your feet swell up. Salt your door for protection. Say this prayer, keep us, Lord, from sinking down when cleaning wounds. I've cleaned so many wounds except my own. I spent days then washing the walls, floors, bonnets, and undergarments, determined to learn a new episteme. I spoke to myself, do not give this world your flesh, make callous the feeling of her lash, of her criticism, learn the curvature, the ascent and descent of sound with each stroke of a letter. Learn to write your name. This next one is called On Harper's Ferry, A Journey to Meet John Brown. In the bright eye of summer, I carried the promise I had made my dead husband as a pendant around my neck, almost 2,500 miles into the freedom terrain of Canada. In Windsor, I knew there was only one investment that could be made toward the final push for freedom in the United States. I was one of John's secret donors, knew nothing was to be gained if one was unwilling to spend or take up arms. On the way, a man told me John had stunning blue eyes, and I thought about the Pacific. Once the Portuguese explorer Ferdinand Magellan stood at the edge of this new world and called this new sea peaceful. Even in San Francisco, a Negro could be dragged back back south in chains. Once I saw a fugitive woman be torn from her husband, then loaded onto a clipper that disappeared into the jowls of the Pacific. By then, I understood what happens to the Negro in water, had grown so tired of disappearing. I could no longer care if my life was the ransom for rebellion against change. In California, I stood facing the cold visage of this other ocean, terrified by who lurks in its water, knowing what we were never to become without war. And this is the last one. If you don't know the story about John Brown raided Harper's Ferry with like 25 people. And Mary Ellen Pleasant was trying to free slaves to help him. And while she was on the journey south to free slaves to help him raid Harper's Ferry, he went ahead without her knowledge. And so she sort of has to go back into hiding before, so she's not caught. This is called Failure is a Journey Home. I imagine my name, Winnetka, beautiful land, a word I had learned during my travels. It was a small relief to choose my own name, signed my initials W-E-P instead of M-E-P, so no one would suspect my connection to John. On the train back north to New York, the leaves were beginning to yellow. The birds in an arrow knew to fly somewhere warmer, somewhere less harsh. For the first time in my life, I was unable to speak, caught in a negotiation with disappointment and grief, too tired to make meaning out of our rebellion's failure. For the first time in a long time, I thought of that plantation in Georgia, thought of the first time I bled on cotton. How after so long, the calluses made it seem like the blood in me dried up. I thought of exhaustion. Lord, there is nothing more profound than being tired. Near the border, I found shelter with a group of abolitionists who too were trying to rework the past, to make loss something more than sense. By December, they hung John, made him an argument against war, against freedom, yet what was he to me but an example of the collapse of love? The dark chasm between the Negro and the white, perhaps too long and painful to overcome. During those nights in hiding, I thought by candlelight of my mother who died long before I could buy her to freedom, which some days feels like its own myth. Love is complicated. Many have shouted these words at the pain of living. But being a Negro woman with love is a slow death. The small part of you, the secret parts that are yours and yours alone until they aren't, expires with every loss. No amount of tears will reverse this. So many thousands gone. Isn't that how the song goes? The blood on the cotton is the only record. Thank you.
What an amazing set of poems. You read actually portions from the long poem. Intrigued now to read the full book when it comes out, of course. Thank you for your participation. Very much appreciated. Our next poet is Hayley Peace. Hayley Peace, are you there? Yes, Hayley. Please come over. And you are an Agnes Scott student. I haven't received any bio notes, so I don't know. That regard, you will introduce yourself.
Oh, yeah, no problem. I can introduce myself. Yeah, so my name is Hayley Peace. I'm a freshman here, and I wrote this poem this week regarding some of the climatic events that have happened. I hope you all are safe and well. This is unprecedented for Georgia, and that's part of the evolution of this poem, was I did not expect to move from Florida. I'm from Florida, not the Big Bend. My family is very much safe, but we have experienced flooding back home as we have here. And this is a poem about climate. So thank you. So many Matildas, but just one when I was young, the crab spider who lived in the bushes out front, weaving her home. And I heard once that her silk is as strong as steel, and how I hope that's real as I check my phone and see it all over again, a thrice yearly event, Cat 3, Cat 4, Cat 5. Man, it's sure gonna be a big one this time. It's funny how so close to the mountains we now have to mind as corporations nearby keep poisoning our sky. They collaborate, and I watch their hate proliferate over the gulf that is supposed to give life. I watch the warm waters turn hot and the tide turn against a place that cannot and will not be bought, and to the ones we must hold accountable. Nature will take your high rises the day it takes my home. So go ahead, sit on your pot of gold. all alone. See where that gets you. But as for the rest of us, we've got so much more to lose than palaces made of the bones of justice. I've got the shops downtown and the island where I found my life's purpose. And I've got Matilda and her web and all of her friends, every which one I named Matilda when I was 10. And you all have a choice to use your voice to protect your community, whether from book bans or polluted air, from greed that threatens school lunch money, or the very land that raised you. We can say no more. I say no more as I watch my islands drown, as I watch the livelihoods of my fellow Floridians and my fellow Americans sink right into the ground. We can turn our fear into hope, even as the sky darkens, even as the dogs sense yet another storm on the horizon. We can vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for this very eloquent contribution to this reading. Appreciate that very much, Hayley. And turning a poem out of the storm so quickly also. Yeah, creative juices at work. That's great. So our next reader is Danielle Holliday. Tells us she was born and raised in Atlanta. Her love of poetry started in the 7th grade, where she thought this was the best way to express her feelings. So numerous poems about the injustices African Americans have faced over the years, before and during her time. That's her theme, her subject. So it is an outlet that's easily digestible for everyone, something that sounds so lovely and pure, that's filled with raw and uncut emotions. That's her aspiration for her poetry. Something that stuck with me in the 10th grade, she says, that I wrote was, chains may bind you to society, but chains were meant to be broken. So Danielle Holliday, yeah, break your chain there.
Tormented descendants. The whispering wheat can be heard through my internal organs that churn, so loud that I can't hear the lies of their silenced cries, cries that have fallen on deaf ears to provoke their worst fears. The cruel working ivory's demanding glare that dares me to adjourn against the hard-working no pay that awaits me on every passing day. As the wind blows the historical tan that rests on the white man's hands, that deceive my ancestors' bleeding palms, from the cotton stem's wrath that no balm could ever cure these scars. Scars that run deeper than my strained link to my homeland that seems so foreign to me. You never knew me. Of course, I don't tell you about half the things in my life that don't go right, because you'll bring it up over and over again like the drip from the tap. Confused when I decide to snap, when I've counted the days when it was time to erase this sheer audacity you parade. Excuse me when your smile drops from the words that wrought your rigid demeanor like snot. It's funny how y'all always seem to come around when everything's piling down. You must be so amused when you get to wipe the smile off my face to make a cake like you ate. Times have changed. I'm not the same zip lip, too scared to quit. Why so shocked? You act like you ain't take me apart piece by piece like Frankenstein. Don't be shocked when you see your time has run out. Oh, please, you never knew me. Z Nation. A land of the walking dead from 9 to 5 with a commute of 9. Numb to the bites of incompetence that stems from disrespect. Time blends and yet it persists like a throbbing pain in my brain that feeds on brains. 1, 2, 3 shots to the head, it never truly affected the dead. Tears that stream from face to race, but the bullets lack the consciousness to discriminate. A babe that only was a year learns how to truly disappear. The anarchy stems from the voters' pride, the ones that can't decide hide. What is good or evil when subjected to the directional left or right? The flames they throw never reach that high, but but it surely burns from below, yearning for the day you fall from grace. Silence. Speak up, they say, before your tongue explodes. Breathe in, they say, for the ones who need tranquility. There is no end to the headache that plagues me. Chin up, they say, for you to understand why they've pained you. Keep up, they say, to be better, do it quicker to entertain. Well, it's my turn. Shut up when I speak. Think before you leap. Know that your pain doesn't give you the right to be so vain. And lastly, don't complain when I build my borders for your uncharted waters. Rethink the ways you've impeded on me, because while everyone may think your smile is unique, oh please, all I see is deceit. Seething, well, it's called seething. Seething, I don't even know if I'm breathing. The walls that close my anger a watering hose. No one knows the ache of my brain that wails from inside. It screams through the window pane, damned to repeat this endless loop, like snot on every tissue. My immune system wasn't built with others in mind that collide with my demise. One may think the gears that drink would be filled with thoughts to breathe. You telling me you can't even think when I'm giving you my all so you can breathe? I can't believe you think you and I stand toe to toe. Oh, you wish you could though. And lastly, working class. Oh, among you who wish for your health to remain, but the pain that always came from a land that only thinks in the sequence of bills, drained from your screaming pills, scraped to fill every pore in need. A dream that is from the land I've been bred from to give me a breadcrumb. Where is my severance for my eternal presence? Oh, please, the shame! Who am I to seek what belongs to me? A joke for riches passed from one gen to another. Treated like the help when I've bled for the land that continues to beat every hour out of me, like I am foreign to thee. And I know you might think this college edge has yet to have bled, but babes, it hasn't happened yet. Thank you.